What do you think of the new setup, you guys? What do you think? Hello, my friends. Bella Maldonado here, coming at you with another tarot spread to help inspire us to create some art. So let's get started with that. But before, what do you think of the new setup, you guys? Before, I was just working on this plain old brown table, and it was a little uninspiring. The whole point of this channel, right, is to inspire us to create. And this table, the way it was looking, was just not doing the job. So I added a couple of little things to make it a little cozier, a little nicer. What do you think? I like it. I don't know. It might change. I might add a little thing or maybe rearrange it completely, but just to keep us on our toes and make it a little different. You know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna light this candle. Let's light this candle to give us some more ambiance. Let's do that. I'm gonna take my trusty USB lighter. That's right, it is a USB lighter. I think this is the coolest thing ever. You charge it. It's a lighter that you charge with a USB cord. It goes right in there, and just flick this, and you can see all the dots to see how much is charged, and you press the little button, and here we go. We have our candle. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? I love this thing. It's so cool. Okay, so now we have our nice candle going. I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this. I'm wondering, should I add my other candle to the mix? Let me see, do I have it? This is a candle. Oh, here it is. This is a candle that I made. Well, okay, I didn't make the candle. I bought the pillar candle, I think, at Target. Yeah, there's the logo for Target. I bought a plain white pillar candle. And what I did was I wanted to put some kind of image here. So I went on Pinterest and I found this image, which I thought was really cool. And what I did was I printed it out on tissue paper. And that's a technique that I used in one of my other art projects. So if you take a look at some of my older videos, you will find it. And what I did was after I printed it on tissue paper, I put it on the candle, covered it with wax paper, and then just started applying the blow dryer to it to transfer the image onto the candle. And then you just peel it off like a temporary tattoo. It's really cool. And if you actually want me to do a quick tutorial to show you how to do that, let me know in the comments, because if enough people are interested, I will definitely make a video to show you how to do that. So this is my all-seeing eye. So I want to put it right here because I'm going to be needing that for this reading. And I'm gonna light this guy up too. So let's get that USB lighter again. So cool. Okay, here we go. There we go. Now I don't think you can see the flame on the camera very well because it's a white candle and the flame is pretty bright, but rest assured it is on. This week we are going to be using the Morgan-Greer Tarot. So this deck was gifted to me by my husband. This is a deck that was published in 1979, but he bought it sometime in the 80s. And we were going through, drawers, cleaning out, and he pulled this guy out and said, hey, I've got this tarot deck. Do you want it? And I was like, yes, please. So I was able to add this Morgan-Greer tarot deck to my collection, and I am so excited to have it. I mean, you can tell that it's pretty old. I mean, look at that. Look at the corners, and it's being held up by masking tape, but I love it to pieces, and it's fabulous. And the deck itself is actually in great shape. It's just the box. So it's all good. And I love that it looks a little beat up. All right, so let's put that to the side. And here are the card backs, which are really cute. And, it's just got that really nice 70s vibe to it. The art is very reminiscent of the time. Let's give these guys a shuffle and see what kind of art we're going to be making this week. Who knows? Is it going to be multimedia? Is it going to be a drawing? see what the cards have in store for us. Okay, you think that's a good mix? I think so. All right, so our first card is going to be the theme of our artwork. And we've got the Emperor. The Emperor is somebody who is a great leader, knows what they want to do. They're very knowledgeable. I definitely associate leadership skills with the Emperor. So I'm trying to see how that can be a theme for our artwork, but I guess we'll see, how that story continues as we uncover additional cards. So the next card is going to tell us what our color is going to be. What colors are we going to be using here? Let's see. Ooh, definitely blue. Blue popped out at me when I put this card down. This is the Empress reverse, and that is definitely what we're going to be using. Lots of blue. So our card number 3 is going to be the medium that we're going to be using. Well, let's see what we've got. Ooh, we've got the High Priestess. So when I think of the High Priestess, she is somebody who is very intuitive, perhaps a little secretive, doesn't, not the type of person to be blabbity blab 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 and gossiping around. She's a very internal person, very knowledgeable. So how can we associate that with art materials? What kind of art materials remind us of the High Priestess? Well, I mentioned before that the High Priestess is about intuition. And intuition is very much associated with water. And you can even see in the card that she's sitting in front of a body of water, and the water is being covered by a veil. And she's pretty much, I think she's protecting what's on the other side of the veil, which can be considered the spiritual realm. And because intuition and the spiritual realm and all of that is associated with the water that she's protecting, I'm kind of thinking that maybe our art piece can have a watercolor background, but it's layered with other stuff on top of it to kind of protect that water or to hide the water. I'm liking the idea of making a watercolor background and just finding other materials to kind of just slap and layer on top of it. Maybe, I don't know, it could be what? Could be pencils, or it could be other kinds of paint, like once we dry out the watercolor. I don't know, we can play with that a little bit. Okay, now card number 4 is going to show us what we're going to be painting, what's going to be our focal point. So let's flip this over, and what do we have? We have the 10 of Cups. So right away, I mean, the thing that caught my attention was this cup in the center that's being held up by 2 hands. And of course, you guys know, hands are not my thing. But if we want to improve, if I want to learn how to draw hands and make them look human, I need to draw them. I need to draw them over and over again and make that part of my artwork. We're going to use a watercolor background that's going to be peeking through just slightly because it'll be covered by other art materials. And we have to figure out how this cup that is being held, that we're going to be drawing and making the focal point of our art piece, is related to the Emperor. Now, another thing that the Emperor card is known for is having structure and having a strong foundation. Because the Emperor card, as you can see, let me move this over a bit, is the number 4 card. And 4s are about structure and foundation, like I just mentioned. I don't know why I had to repeat it again. But anyway, I'm thinking with that in mind, because that kind of inspired an idea, is maybe drawing arms or hands in a situation where they're holding something up, like supporting it, or serving as a strong foundation to something that these hands are supporting. I'm not sure what that could be yet, but I think I'm liking that idea as opposed to the leadership side of the card. I like the strong foundation part as the theme. So maybe we will work with that. So now I'll have to find some references of hands holding things, and we're going to use some watercolor. We've got our strength and support as the theme, and we're going to be using quite a bit of blue in our art piece. All right, let's see what we come up with. So as usual, before I apply my paint, I'm going to put some white gesso on the paper to get my watercolor paper ready. And you know, I started painting with the watercolor, and I pretty much painted the entire background when I realized I didn't hit the record button. So you kind of missed the beginning part of it, but right now you'll see the blue that I've already applied. And I mean, you really didn't miss much. It's just basically me doing what you're seeing right now. So just adding some more blue. And this is from my Decadent Pies watercolor collection, and the colors that I'm using are number 35 blackberry and number 36 blueberry. I also have number 26 Earl Grey sitting on my palette there, but I don't think I ever actually used it. So right now I am using my gelatos, and I'm going to use that to layer on top of my watercolor background, because we talked about using layers, right, in our reading. So I'm applying some water to the gelatos just to blend it in a little more like paint and less like a crayon. And I found that as I was using this stencil, it was reminding me a lot of my last video where I used a stencil with polka dots. Even though these are hexagons, it still looked very similar. So I'm going to try next time, if I do use a stencil, it's going to be something that doesn't look like polka dots, because I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over. But I just kept pushing along because it's what I took out and it's what I was using, so we just went with it. So another layer that I wanted to apply to the background was a stamp, and this was a stamp that came with my gelatos, and the instructions say to rub the gelato onto the stamp and then spray it with some water to, activate the pigment, and then you just stamp it on. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like I didn't need an ink pad to do this. I could just use my gelatos. And so I just started stamping wherever I thought would look fun. And you can see I'm probably put a little bit too much water on the stamp because the words aren't very clear, but that's okay. This is just for a background. This is not meant to be something that you actually read. It's just supposed to be something fun to look at. Now, even though I wanted to add layers and layers of stamps, I did want to leave as much of the center clear as possible because that's where I was going to make my drawing. And I put the word drawing in quotation marks because, well, I guess you'll see. If you want to qualify it as a drawing, be my guest. But anyway, the stamping. So yeah, we're getting stamps kind of along the border so I have that center area free. So now the drawing, do you hear the air quotes? Do you hear the air quotes in drawing? The drawing now begins. And what I found as a reference was a photograph of two ballet dancers. And one dancer was holding the other up in the air, and I thought that was a really good representation of what we saw in the reading, which was hands that were holding something. And in this photograph, the one dancer was providing that support, that strong foundational structure to keep the other dancer up in the air. And I thought that was perfect. There's arms, there's hands, there's support. It had everything we needed. So I attempted to draw that. And you can see that I'm already trying to draw the hand of one of the ballet dancers, the one that's kind of up in the air. And that first hand is, I don't know, looking a little claw-like. But you know, we keep sketching. We'll see how this turns out. So at this point of the drawing, I figured, you know what? I'm gonna give up for now on the lady dancer, because as graceful as she was in the photo reference, I just was not able to mimic that gracefulness on paper. So I said, you know, let's just leave her alone. Let's leave her alone, let her sit there for a minute, hanging in midair, and I'm gonna work on the guy dancer, okay? So we'll see how that goes. So I started drawing his head, and as I was drawing it, I thought that it was a little too small compared to her, but now that I'm looking at it on the video, I think it actually looks fine. But I end up erasing it and making the head bigger because I think it wasn't matching the body. So at this point, I'm just trying to draw in his legs, and I think the erasing of the head will come later. So now I'm working on his hands that are supposed to be around her waist, but I think they were a little too high up. So, you know, you can see that I tried one position and it ended up looking like a lobster claw, but we continue. We push forward. And I'm drawing in the other arm and the hand, which I enjoyed that one because that hand was hidden behind her body, so that worked out perfectly. But you can see that I erased the lobster claw, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm putting in its place. It's supposed to be a hand, but I don't know how you would describe this new one right now. Perhaps talon-like from a mythological creature of sorts? I don't know. I don't know. It's not looking quite human, but it looks like an appendage of some kind. So, you know, baby steps. So right at this point, I have more of the sketch down. I didn't want to put you through all of that drawing and erasing and drawing and erasing, you know. So if you appreciate that, if you appreciate the fact that I just cut that whole scene out, just hit that like button. Hit that like button. Let me know you appreciate it. And also, you know, if you wanna see more hideous claws, if that's what you're into, definitely let me know in the comments, okay? Anyway, back to the drawing. So I've managed to get his torso in there, his legs. Now, you know, I have to say, I do like his legs. I don't know if you can see them very well here, but I think those legs, they came out pretty good. The thighs, and then later on, you know, you can see a little muscle in there with the shading, but you'll see that in a minute. I think I can say that I'm somewhat proud of his legs. The rest of the drawing, not so much. So I went back to the lady that I abandoned. I just needed a break from her, and you know, finished up the guy. Now I'm back to the lady. She's supposed to have these long, elegant arms, and you know, instead we have this, but that's okay. That's okay. We push on. I'm gonna keep saying that throughout this entire video. We push on. Every time something just doesn't come out great, we push on. Anyhow, I'm working on these arms, and then, oh, this is the great part. I'm putting in her other leg, and her left leg is supposed to be kind of put up against the right leg in I don't know what position you'd call that, but she has her leg bent against the longer one. And I don't know, you guys, but that looks like a little cartoon carrot. That leg looks like it's just missing the little greenery that's supposed to come out of the carrot and make it orange, and we're good to go with a cartoon carrot. That's supposed to be her leg, guys. Her leg. Anyway, we push on. So now we color. I whipped out my Prismacolor Premier Color pencils, which I love because they blend so nicely. If only I knew how to use them properly, but we'll get there, we'll get there. So I started off with a really light shade for the skin tone because I wanted to have something light enough for the highlights. And then later I'm going to go in with a much darker mid-tone and then an even much darker color for the shadows. So as I color in the male dancer, I start to realize that I probably should have put some white gesso on that leg that I'm coloring in right now because I have all those yellow dots all over it. But anyway, I just colored right on top of it. So now I'm working on his face. Now, okay, the face. This is supposed to be a grown man, okay? A grown adult man. And when I started working on his face, he just looked like this bald little boy on top of a man's body. And it was so strange looking. I mean, he kind of, you know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of, what's that kid's name in Avatar? Aang? The Avatar, like the main character. That little kid, that little Aang. That's who this male dancer looks like on my paper. I mean, the photo reference, I don't even want to show you the photo reference because it's too embarrassing. But this is a grown man. But no, instead, I drew little Aang. So now I've grabbed a darker tone for the skin color, and I'm trying to play around with how the light would hit the muscles in the leg. Was I successful? Meh. I don't know. You know, shading is still a fun part of drawing for me because that's when things start to come together a little bit and they start looking more like the thing that you're trying to draw. But you know, I'm still playing around with it. You know, I haven't quite mastered it or apprenticed it. I don't know, what's one level below apprentice? I haven't done that yet. But as I said earlier, baby steps. So remember earlier when I said that I was going to erase his head because I thought it looked too small? So this is my attempt at making a bigger head and my attempt at making him look more like a grown man instead of little Aang from Avatar, which is on Netflix, by the way. Anyway, so, you know, I was hoping to make him look more like a grown-up, and honestly, I think he ended up looking more like Aang than he did the first time I drew Aang. So I think I did just about everything I could with the shading on the skin. So I just grabbed some colors just to color in the outfits. I think that color is called Process Red for her top. And then I'm grabbing my black pencil to just outline everything and make it sharper. But I realized later that the pencil wasn't really doing it, so I just ended up grabbing my Micron pen and outlining everything in the black pen. So do you see the white marks that are near the arms and the hands? Those are marks from me erasing so much that the paper started to rip off. Chunks of paper were coming off. So I just grabbed a light blue pencil that was the closest to the watercolor background so I can just fill that in a little bit so it wouldn't be so obvious. You know, I tried. So this is the part where I'm telling you that I grabbed my Micron pen, so I'm just outlining everything just to give it, just to make it a little sharper. just so that our two dancers can stand out more. So right now I'm using my white Gelly Roll pen to add some highlights to parts of the skin and sections of the outfits. The reference had the two dancers in a dark room, but you can tell that the light was coming from the right side, and it just produced some really nice highlighted effects that I was trying to reproduce in my drawing. There it is. There it is, the final drawing. Look at those legs, right? I mean, those legs are not bad considering the rest of the drawing. You know, not bad. Yes, the rest of it, yeah, whatever. We can talk about that some other time. But anyway, I would love to see your art. I want to see what you guys are creating. So if you feel inspired by the tarot reading, please draw something, paint something, make some kind of art. Take a picture of it, throw it up on Instagram, and tag it with Bella M Tarot Art. I would love to see what you guys are making. And I want to send a special shout out to Temple Tarot, who left me a comment in one of my older videos saying that she wasn't quite loving the camera angle, that it made her feel like she was upside down. So because of that comment, I rearranged my entire setup, so now there's more of a top-down shot, and hopefully that nausea is finally settling in. So subscribe if you love me. See you guys in the next one. Bye!